Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: which TV show started out promising, but turned out to be garbage? Heroes. Season 1 was amazing, but it went downhill fast after that. Save the cheerleader, save the world. They saved the cheerleader once. OMG, Dad gave me the Nissan Versa. AHHH. And I'm done. All these years later, and Hiro's voice still pops into my head anytime I see a Nissan Versa. The writers' strike ruined a lot of shows at the time. I didn't hate seasons 2 and 3, but I am comfortable never watching them again for the rest of my life. I was okay with how season 2 started, then all of a sudden. Yeah, the strike apparently ruined a whole storyline, and the pivot the show took to try and fix it made it worse. Stitches. Imagine this: a device is invented to see into the last memories of dead people, and an organization uses this tech to solve murders. The woman who has to relive the murders is the daughter of the inventor, who she is estranged from and, I believe, thought was dead. So this chick is solving murders and trying to track down her genius dad. Makes for some gritty drama, right? Wrong. It's a free-form show, so it just devolves into a love triangle between the woman and her male co-workers. I came here for sci-fi crime solving, damn it. I heard someone explain the show once as a great concept, but written by a horny nerd with a wet latex fetish. After a season can confirm it is true. Wet latex, you say? I find a lot of TV shows in this thread follow my "Are you okay?" theory of modern storytelling. The timeline goes thus. The show is created with a particular story it wants to tell. The show becomes popular. The show finishes telling its story but is renewed anyways. Having nothing else to say, the writers turn to soap opera-esque human interest stories. Once a show has its characters saying "Are you okay?" and then having emotionally fraught conversations twice per show, it's over. You can't treat a serialized show as episodic and keep renewing it in perpetuity once the story has been told. Edit. Geez, I log off Reddit to read for a while and rip my inbox. Thanks for the awards, y'all. This is the great, and awful, thing about British television. Would I love a few more seasons of IT Crowd? Hell yes. But it is just so great all the way through, and I would hate for that to have been tainted. Just finished Friday Night Dinner as well. There are only 12 episodes of Fawlty Towers. 12. And everyone loves that show. I really liked the first season of Once Upon a Time. I thought the concept of it was pretty clever and kept me interested, and I loved the cast. Then it turned into every mediocre fantasy with bad gay show and kind of a mess to follow. I couldn't even go past half of the second season. I truly believe it should have stayed a one-season thing. It would have been a nice little show to go back to for nostalgia. It definitely had the potential. Edit. Several of you recommended Fables, The Wolf Among Us, and The 10th Kingdom, which sound really neat, so thank you. Thought I'd share for everyone to see. I can't get over the fact that characters kept switching sides, as though all the work they'd done to build trust and establish relationships was suddenly meaningless, or suddenly the betrayal that the character made a few episodes before didn't matter. They were redeemed by virtue of the fact that they simply wanted to come back to the good guys again. That level of relationship fluidity was so unrealistic that it broke the immersion of the show for me, a show about fairy tale characters come to life. I preferred Regina as a villain. She was much more interesting that way. They did her dirty by killing Robin. Riverdale. That shit went absolute bonkers. Spoilers. I agree, that show is madness. But, for some reason, I tortured myself to watch every episode and it's totally bonkers. The town is now called Riverdale, Archie was sacrificed, Cheryl is now a witch, Veronica sold Reggie's soul to the devil. And Tony is now a ghost called Lane Laura that kidnaps children when angry. So yeah, even if I wanted to make this up I couldn't. I don't what those guys have been smoking. I stopped watching in season 3, I think. When I read a comment I actually thought that you were making a joke about how stupid the show got by saying absurd things. Then I read the replies to a comment and everyone was responding seriously to a comment. I couldn't tell if they were continuing a joke or not. Imagine my surprise when I look it up and everything you wrote is really happening on the show. What the absolute fuck are those writers on? My wife, my in-laws, and I were all 100% invested in season 1. Probably the only thing that all 4 of us could agree on. But we all checked out almost immediately into season 2. It was so awful. I even bit my way through season 3, but stripping minor Betty in a ratty club full of old men and musicals were my breaking point. Revolution, an interesting premise. Our world and electricity couldn't be used anymore, but man, by the last episode it was something else entirely. In a similar way, Under the Dome. Small America town is literally trapped under a giant dome. I can only watch it for Dean Norris being allowed to go full Dean Norris. I live in the small town that was filmed in. Dean Norris was very friendly with the locals and frequented lots of local businesses and is just a really nice guy. Man, I was so into the first half season of that show. By the end of season 1 I was already exhausted. I think its biggest problem is that it was written for standard length seasons when it should have been a one-season show or miniseries. The Walking Dead. It had the potential to be such a good show, but I finally gave up like season 5 or 6, which was probably a lot more than I should have given it. The best episode is still the pilot episode. Season 1 as a mini-series is good though. Most medical shows. It starts out being really interesting, then it gets into all the people's private lives and relationships and it just fallen apart after that. Edit. Hey y'all, thanks for the feedback. Now I made sure to say most because there's gold out there like Scrubs. This is a list of stuff I was suggested or want to see again. Scrubs, obviously. Nurse Jackie, gonna check this one out. Said to be balanced all the way through. House, already seen, enjoyed the first 6 seasons, but I disliked the last 2. The Kick, 19th century medicine. Based around people adding to modern medicine. Sounds like a blast. MASH, I saw this when I was 5 or 6 so I can't remember most of it and I didn't really appreciate all the jokes / banter. Yes, it's a got relationship stuff but it's mostly a comedy instead of a drama. Call the Midwife, was also told it was balanced all the way through. ***, when I say balanced I mean between the doctoral stuff and relationship stuff. Again, thanks so much for the feedback. I can't wait to check all the new shows and what not to waste my days away with. Edit 2. I'm also compiling a list of shows to watch as well so I don't forget about them. Some that weren't mentioned above are Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, Dr. Death, Medical Police, The Alienist, Code Black and Saving Hope. I can't wait to check out all the titles. House MD was good though. I feel like that's because the medicine was never the actual important part of the show. It was just a tool to help tell the story of House himself. Westworld. First season was a polished gem. The first season sent chills through my whole body. That reveal of the man in black stayed with me for so long. Then the second season was hard work. 3 episodes into the third season me and my husband were like, okay, we are not thick people but this has become a deliberate headache just for the sake of it now. Pass. This has become a deliberate headache just for the sake of it. I love Westworld, even enjoyed season 2 and 3 in their own way, but the show definitely forgets to be fun in favor of being complex sometimes and it hurts. The first season was just straight cinema at its finest. Absolutely incredible writing, performances, costume design, etc. The reveal about the man in black was awesome, then they ruined it. The 100 was cheesy garbage, got really good, then ended as garbage. What a ride. The last season was like we've written ourselves into a corner and don't know how to end this. Time to go all crazy shit. Oh god, the ending. The writers knew that it had to have an emotionally powerful ending. And while I don't think they were the ones they intended, the emotions I felt were definitely powerful. The 100 is one of my most confusing consuming experiences. First season, god, this teen drama shit is so trash. Why would anyone watch this? Why am I still watching this? Later seasons, did this actually get good? But then kinda hit a soft barrier where things just got steadily more tired, boring, dramatic and I just forgot about it. I've never gone from hate watching to heroically enjoying before. It doesn't help that the characters are terrible inconsistent, and each season becomes a revolving door of whose turn it is to become the bad guy. But that's classic CW. In before anyone else can say it. Arrow. I watched the whole series, because I'm an idiot, but as soon as they introduced sci-fi and fantasy elements, the show was going off the rails. The first 2 seasons were a gritty, realistic take that drew inspiration in equal measure from the Dark Knight trilogy and Mike Grell's run at the character in the 80s and 90s. No magic, no gadgets, just a mean guy with a bow. They introduced the Flash and the Lazarus Pits and Damien Dick, and it just kept getting worse and worse. I actually liked Arrow, but it definitely gets weaker and weaker as time goes on. I argue season 5 was pretty good. Prometheus, Josh Segarra, was a decent villain, plus the action is well directed that season. Designated Survivor. 100% agree. My wife and I started watching a few weeks ago and loved it at the beginning, and now we're on season 3 and it ain't good. Felt like after the initial plot they didn't have any direction.